What was it again? Pattern inside or inside pattern? If you also think the keywords could be a bit more straightforward, then this new syntax will be something for you. So our program analysis team is experimenting with a new syntax. And well, full disclosure, it can still change, but it's definitely worth checking out. To use the new syntax, just use the keyword match instead of a patterns keyword at the top. The new syntax is already available in the playground, so feel free to try it out there. After this initial keyword, we can define patterns much like the old syntax. There are some changes, however. The any operator is now the straightforward companion to the pattern either. And the all operator is the analog of patterns. They are meant to be read as match any of these patterns or match all of these patterns. Do you, like I used to, often forget whether you need to use pattern inside or inside pattern? Well, with the new syntax that is no longer a problem. Now we can just use inside. Similarly, the new syntax uses not as a replacement for pattern not and regex as a replacement for pattern regex. One significant change is that we can now omit the pattern keyword when defining a pattern. We can simply write the pattern as a string, or use a bar to trigger a multi-line string if necessary. Beware, as some patterns contain characters such as a colon that are valid YAML syntax, and they might screw with your rule if they are interpreted as such. You can surround your pattern with double quotes or precede it with a bar to prevent this. Another change is that metavariable operators like metavariable pattern, metavariable regex, analysis comparison, and also the focus metavariable operator now appear within a where clause, which allows us to define conditions for the patterns that we already defined. Metavariable operators have also been shortened and simplified into the new syntax. Metavariable pattern, for example, is shortened to only use its subfields, metavariable and pattern, and the same occurs for all the other metavariable operators. Finally, focus metavariable is just shortened to focus. Taint mode is also supported. To write a taint rule with the new syntax, simply use taint as a top-level key instead of match. You also no longer need the option mode taint. In this new taint syntax, we still have sources, sinks, propagators, and sanitizers, but for all of them we can drop the pattern dash from the keyword. Let's try translating one or two rules into this new syntax. Alright, so I took a rule from our open source rules on GitHub. This is a Django subprocess injection rule. I chose this rule because it uses a bunch of features such as taint mode. It uses pattern inside, focus, metavariable, metavariable pattern, and then also metavariable regex. So I feel it would be a good candidate to translate. So if we run this rule, we can see that currently we find 6 matches and all of our tests have passed. So let's translate. I guess taint rules now start with a top-level key called taint, and then we have sources, we have sinks, and we have sanitizers. And I'll indent our patterns so that we can try to translate these new patterns to the new syntax. Yeah, let's try all, and then where, and so pattern inside just becomes inside. I like to switch these around. I like to have focus at the end of my patterns. Just think that makes more sense. It's more readable. And so we have a metavariable pattern here, which I guess becomes metavariable, and then patterns becomes all. We can omit this. It just become that, and this not inside. Focus metavariable is just focus. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Next we have patterns, and then pattern either. This is not required. So pattern either becomes any, or things are any of these patterns, and the patterns become all. And let's see, this is pattern can be omitted. Pattern not just becomes not, and then we have a not inside, which becomes not inside. And let's indent this. There we go. This seems like kind of a long pattern, so let's use a bar to make sure that none of these are interpreted as YAML syntax. And then we have a metavariable regex, which is reduced to metavariable and regex. Actually, this needs to be in a where clause, like this, and then the same happens here, where we can add a where clause, and this pattern is optional, and we can reduce the metavariable regex to a shorter version like this. And finally we have the focus metavariable, which becomes focus, and this is optional as well. I think that should be it. Yes, 6 matches, all of our tests pass. Which parts of the current syntax are most confusing to you? Have you tried the new syntax? Is it any better? Let me know in the comments down below. And subscribe for my future videos. Bye!